Hello BookTube, I'm Jonathan, and this year I did a pretty good job of starting sci-fi series, and a so-so job of finishing them. Recently I made a video on the series that I completed this year, the series that I will be continuing next year, and the series that I have put back on the shelf for now. So what I wanted to do in this video is discuss some series that are going to be new to me that I want to start in 2024. You guys might be interested in some of them, so check them out and see if you'd like to read along with me. Let's get started with The Mars Trilogy by Kim Stanley Robinson. For eons, sandstorms have swept the desolate landscape. For centuries, Mars has beckoned humans to conquer its hostile climate. Now, in 2026, a group of 100 colonists is about to fulfill that destiny. The Mars Trilogy is comprised of Red Mars, Green Mars, and Blue Mars. The first of which was nominated for the Hugo Award, and both sequels actually won the Hugo Award. I'm not sure what to expect going into the Mars Trilogy because I made a video on a list of essential sci-fi books that I found from a website called The Classics of Sci-Fi, and in that video I mentioned that I hadn't read Red Mars yet, and the majority of the comments were along the lines of, "Oh, it's hard sci-fi at its best. Jonathan, you're gonna love it." But then I made another video where I went to a bookstore and I picked up a copy of Red Mars, and the majority of the comments in that video were along the lines of, it's nothing but relationship drama. Jonathan, you're gonna hate it." So now I don't know what to think. I think the comments in this video are gonna have to be the tiebreaker for my expectations. Is it a Hugo Award worthy series, or have I been bamboozled, hoodwinked, given the 1-2 Magoo? Typically, I enjoy hard science fiction, and if hard sci-fi happens to have great character arcs as well, then that's great too. But things like relationship drama is not necessarily the thing that is drawing me to reading science fiction. To give you an example, Tau Zero by Paul Anderson has some amazing sci-fi concepts. And in that book, on that space mission, there are relationships that materialize and jealousies that form. And I found that to be believable human behavior in that confined environment in a high-pressure situation, but that isn't what I was enjoying most about that book. So let me know if you've read the Mars Trilogy, and let me know how high you think I need to bump it up the TBR. Alright, for our second sci-fi series we have Daemon by Daniel Suarez. When a legendary game designer passes, a previously dormant daemon activates, initiating a chain of events intended to unravel the fabric of our technological world. It's up to an unlikely alliance to decipher his plans and wrest the world from the grasp of a nameless, faceless enemy. Daemon is a duology with Daemon followed by Freedom. I know a 2-book series isn't much of a series, but after picking up a 7-book series, a 9-book series, 2-book series sounds kinda nice. This year I added quite a few books to my cyberpunk shelf, with Snow Crash, Altered Carbon, and The Quantum Thief being some of my favorites. And Daemon was a popular suggestion in my cyberpunk TBR video. It sounds to me like Daemon might contain some classic William Gibson cyberpunk inspiration, while also incorporating some Michael Crichton-esque techno-thriller elements. I believe these books are around 500 or 600 pages long, but I've heard them described as fast-paced reads, so hopefully I can make my way through them pretty quickly. Let me know if you've read Daemon. Okay, for our third sci-fi series we have Wayfarers by Becky Chambers. The crew of the aging Wayfarer receive the job offer of a lifetime, tunneling wormholes through space to a distant planet. In the far reaches of deep space, the tiny Wayfarer crew will confront a host of unexpected mishaps and thrilling adventures that force them to depend on each other. The Wayfarers is made up of 4 books: The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, A Closed and Common Orbit, Record of a Spaceborne Few, and The Galaxy and the Ground Within. From what I've read, this seems like a more character-driven space opera, and might be a nice series to intersperse between some of the more science and ideas-driven sci-fi that I read. I've also heard that this is a bit of a cozy read, and it has a little bit more of a positive outlook than a lot of other science fiction. So if you've been binging some dystopian and grimdark books, perhaps this series might help give you a little bit of a much-needed pick-me-up. I also believe that each of the books are somewhat standalone, so you don't have to necessarily commit to reading all of the series at once. You can just pick up the next book whenever you're in the mood for this kind of sci-fi. I own the first book, The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, and I've heard a lot of good things in particular about the second book, A Closed and Common Orbit, so if I enjoy the first book, I'll definitely be excited to get to that one. Alright, moving on to our fourth sci-fi series, we have Silo by Hugh Howey. The world outside has grown unkind, the view of it limited, talk of it forbidden. But there are always those who hope, who dream. These are the dangerous people, the residents who infect others with their optimism. Their punishment is simple. They are given the very thing they profess to want. They are allowed outside. The Silo Trilogy features Wool, Shift, and Dust. I believe the Silo series was originally self-published digitally, and then later received a publishing deal for physical copies. Silo is part of the dystopian and post-apocalyptic genres, so it might be a nice series to pair with the Wayfarers, depending on whether you feel like brightening your day or ruining your day. I did read a little bit from these genres this year with The Road and The Children of Men, both of which were very heavy reads and I thought very well executed. I feel like these genres often cover very familiar tropes, but the questions of how and why humans are living in this underground silo is an intriguing mystery to me. I might sneak Wool into my December schedule because I'm pretty keen to get to this one for a couple of reasons. The first is that a subscriber, Tufty McTavish, kindly sent me the first book in the series, Wool, and that is very much appreciated, so I'd like to get to that soon. And also, people keep asking me whether I've watched the TV series Silo, and I haven't read it yet because I do want to read the book first, so I'm going to get on the book hopefully pretty soon, and then I can finally watch the TV series. Let me know if you've watched it and if you think it's any good. And coming back to the books, I've heard mostly positive things about the first book, Wool, and then a little bit of a mixed reaction on the sequels, Shift and Dust. So if you've read them, spoiler free of course, let me know whether you think I'm going to enjoy those as well. And for our fifth and final sci-fi series, we have a little bit of a cheat here as I have read the first book in the series, but it is one that I want to get back to, and that is Deathstalker by Simon R. Green. In a galactic empire ruled by fear, Owen Deathstalker finds himself outlawed with a bounty on his head. Fleeing the forces of the Empress, he embarks on a journey that will introduce him to rebels, reveal family secrets, and set him on a collision course with the power of the throne. There are 8 books in the Deathstalker series. The first sub-series is comprised of Deathstalker, Deathstalker Rebellion, Deathstalker War, Deathstalker Honor, and Deathstalker Destiny. And the second sub-series features Deathstalker Legacy, Deathstalker Return, and Deathstalker Coda. I read the first Deathstalker book in 2022, and you guys know how crazy the TBR schedule can get. I did not get around to it again in 2023, but I'm really looking forward to jumping back into the series in 2024. Deathstalker is a sword and planet sci-fantasy space opera, and in terms of the ideas, Simon R. Green throws pretty much everything, including the kitchen sink, at it. And while maybe not everything quite sticks the landing, Green isn't afraid to be ambitious, over the top, and gory, all while writing with his tongue placed firmly in his cheek. And something else that I'm looking forward to getting back into is the characters. Characters like Owen Deathstalker and Valentine Wolf are just dripping with personality, and the political mind games and the witty dialogue are just a real treat. I'm not sure how many I'll get through next year, but this is just a fun series, and I'll definitely be picking it up whenever I'm in the mood for a wild adventure. So those are 5 science fiction series that I want to read in 2024. This list did skew a little bit more modern, but if you saw my video on 10 standalone sci-fi books I want to read next year, I've got some classic sci-fi for you in there. Let me know if you've read any of these series, your thoughts on them, and if there's any that you're interested in picking up. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash or just gently click the subscribe button, and if you really enjoyed it, consider checking out the perks of becoming a Patreon member, where you can become one of my robots, androids, or cyborgs like Nima, A New Eden, and Colin, and you can find more sci-fi content over here.